necessary if it is that we're going to be facing an enemy. What are the directives that needs to be given in a situation where an enemy is to be faced? And what is the anticipated end result of facing your enemy? So, that's what we're going to be looking at. The topic, whole armor of God. Why is there a need for an armor? That's the first question. For protection. Thank you. Any other reason? Yes? That's the main reason. All right. So you need an armor for protection. All right. What are the different types of armor that we can think of? Huh? The helmet to protect the head. In other words, an armor for the body. All right. But are there other armors than those for the body? That's what I asked. What are different type of armors? One is an armor for the body. That's for the body. That's for the body. That's for the body. The sword. So what is the purpose of the sword? The sword is the word of God. But that's a spiritual armor, not a physical one. So we have already identified that you need a physical armor for the body. And now you also need a spiritual armor for the... What's the purpose of a spiritual armor? For the soul. Good. So you need to protect the body, you need to protect the soul. Are there other armors? It's just the body and the soul alone we need to protect? For the feet, but the foot is a part of your body. Yeah. And sandals don't really do much protection, but yes, it still is compared to having none. Yes, sir. Your belief. So you need to protect your belief. All right. All right. That sounds reasonable. But what do you use to believe? There you go. You're right, you know. You are right. You need to protect your belief. You need to protect your belief. But it's not so much the belief you need to protect as what you use to believe. You need to protect the mind. That's what Sister Fina just said. Right? You need to protect the mind. Sister Brian. You need to protect the mind. Right? So, you have mental protection that you need to have. You need to have physical protection of the body. You need to have spiritual protection of the soul. So there are so many different types of protection that are necessary. Right? When we talk about the physical protection, we're talking about helmet, breastplate, right? And things to cover the foot, like a shoes or a water boot in some cases, depending on the environment in which it's going to be used in. Some people wear a steel-toed shoes, like in my environment, we wear steel-toed shoes to protect your foot. So you have different type of environment, so you need different type of protective equipment. But for the body, you need physical. For the spirit, as it said, you need what? You need a spiritual armor, right? Which is your salvation. That's what your salvation is. Your salvation is your spiritual armor. And then for the mind, you need what? What do you need for the mind? There are many people out there on the road who are eating from bin, who are drinking from off the ground. Oh, so you think it's psychological and not mental. Some are psychological but not mental. Not mental? I know there are differences, but the truth is that it's really mental because it's a mind. And the brain, it's a mind really. A lot of them, it's a brain that go. But in some case, it is the mind that goes. Right? And there's a difference between mind and brain. The brain is physical. But the mind is more the spiritual side. It is what the brain does. Right? That's the mind. Or the mind occupies the brain, if I may say that for now. So, there are different aspects in armor, in protection, that we need to consider well. Right? While we are well knowledgeable about protecting the body, physical protection, many of us do not protect our mind or our mental health, as it is said, well. And so quite often, people who do things that are strange, that are abnormal, when a young man get up in his house one day and kill off his family for argument's sake, is it his mind or is it his psychological state that cause it? What they say is that it's a mental health issue. Some people are depressed. Some people are in various states of depression. And that's a mental issue, right? People find themselves in situations where when a man feels lonely, is it psychological or is it mental? It's psychological. It's not mental. Why? Because what if we find ourselves in being alone? Being alone is not being lonely. When you're alone, it simply means that you're by yourself. Right? But when you're lonely now, it has to do with your mind. Yes, it has to do with your mind and your psychological state. Because you could be in a crowd like this and still be lonely. Still be lonely. It has to do with your psychology, your mentality now. And we can intertwine them for the moment. Right? And say they are similar for the purpose of our discussion. So there are times when, because of our state of mental health, which we quite often do not protect the same way we protect our physical state. And because of that, many people end up in situations that could have been avoided if they had had some assistance, somebody to talk to, somebody who can help them to go through a process or even go through it on their own to help them to relieve some of the stresses that they go through. Brother Smith and first, and then you, Sister Brian.
All right. And a question how do you protect your mind?
How do you protect your mind? Good question. That was the same question? Oh. Well, you talk to them and they listen. But that is one way. There are other ways. And here, that is the answer to the question. How do you protect your mental health? Basically, you need to be able to relieve yourself of the stressors, of the issues that cause mental stress. Talking to somebody about it so that you can get a different perspective or simply get a perspective on the issue is one way. Another way is to, and this is where, again, therapy helps. It carries you through a process. There's a step-by-step process that therapy provides that allow you to change your perspective on issues, right? And see things from a different light. For example, sometimes we're bothered by clothes. You know, say there are people who are bothered by clothes. What to wear, what not to wear, how people see them. And so you can change that mentality by saying, it no matter what you wear. If it is that you can change that mentality so that you're not bothered by what you wear and how you look and what people have to say about it, the stress will be relieved. So a change in perspective will protect your mind. There are different theories and there are terms that are used by psychologists that are called like rationalization, which means you think through the situation and come to a conclusion. You have deferral, right? When you put off the issue, sometimes you deflect it onto others as well. And so it becomes other people's problem. You ever hear them say, if you have to go before a crowd and talk to people, most persons become what? Nervous. Why are you nervous? That's a mental health issue. It's a stress. It's a stress. So it's mental. How do you deal with that? One way that those persons have to do it often. What they say is that you, in your mind, you look at the audience as people in what? Huh? Not real. None of the people are real because it's them you're going to talk to. So, but if you see the people as being in their underwear, then what will happen is that you will not feel embarrassed. You won't feel scared, right? You won't feel nervous because you see them as being in a compromising position already, so to speak. And therefore, you are not in a worse condition than they are. Right? And so it helps to relieve your nervousness. Some people take deep breath and let it out slowly, and that calms the body, calms the nerve, and makes them feel better. Of course, there are also drugs or medication, to use the other term, that helps as well. Right? That can be prescribed. So there are different ways to assist in protecting mental health. All right? Yes.
The reason why I ask is because sometimes when I find myself in some situation, there is a spiritual attack because most of the time is spiritual. I find a way that I can't escape the problem. But when I take it to God, a peace just come over me, and the situation might not complete, but it seems that it's
So the perspective change. Yeah, because it doesn't bother you as much anymore. But that is a spiritual, which is the other issue now. Because we talk about physical, we talk about mental. The spiritual one is the other one now where, and this is something as human beings, we have a difficulty in grasping how to deal with spirituality, how to deal with things beyond the physical. Even though we are spiritual beings, we are living in a physical world and we are in a physical body. And therefore our perspective are generally spiritual. That's why the Bible says that when a man rejects God, what happens? He is left with a mentality that is what? Sister Brian, I don't remember. You're the one who corrected me on the word recently. Well, relatively recently. Somebody saying it over there? Reprobate mind. Reprobate means physical. It actually means worldly. So therefore, we are left with our worldly perspective. And anything that is worldly, meaning of this world, is not of heaven. It's not spiritual. And if it is not spiritual, then what happened? The Bible says the things of this world cannot go up to heaven. Because heaven is a spiritual place. Right? And therefore, in order for a man to make it into heaven, he has to put off the worldly and take on the heavenly. Is that correct? The Bible talk about body celestial and body terrestrial, right? So the terrestrial, terra means earth, right? So the body terrestrial is this physical body, the things of this world. While body celestial, celeste has to do with the heavens, hence heavenly, right? So we have to put the things of this world under subjection in order that we can make it into the heavenly realm. And therefore, when it comes to the spirit, we have to make that connection from the physical to the spiritual. And that's what Christ came to provide for us. He came to enable us to move from the physical to the spiritual, and therefore help us to develop that spiritual armor, right? That spiritual armor. And so our lesson goes into the armor of God. What are the armor? Firstly, what is the enemy that we anticipate experiencing in this battle that we need to put on the armor? Who is the enemy? Ephesians 1 and verse 21. What does Ephesians 1:21 say? If you can have it up on the board. Not able to? Come on, God. Ladies upstairs, you hear me? Sister Paulette. Oh, right. Ephesians 1:21. For above all, principalities, powers, and might, and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also that which is to come. In other words, there are principalities and powers that are above the physical. That are above the physical. And so, when you examine what our enemies are, we know that the enemy is led by Satan. Right? He is led by Satan. However, he is not the only one. But he leads a host. The Bible says 1/3 of the angels from heaven fell. Right? And when they fell, they are led by Satan, by Lucifer, the prince of darkness. And so therefore, since these are led by him, then they all become our enemy, because they are here to attack us from different points. So these are our enemy. Spiritual wickedness, the Bible says, in high places. Therefore, in order for us to face our enemy, we need to have the armor. If it is that we are advised that we are going to be facing an enemy, what is the first thing that we need to do? Protect yourself, all right? In order, you're going to face the enemy, therefore you have to protect yourself. Good, I like that answer. Any other? No other? Before you protect yourself, though, there's something that you have to do. You have to arm yourself. What you say? Cover yourself. Arm yourself. Same thing. Right. You have to pray. Good. So prayer is one of the process, right? It's one of the things that you do. But the correct term is to prepare. Is to prepare. To arm yourself is a part of the preparation process, right? To pray is a part of the preparation process. However, prayer is not necessarily the point that we're going to look at now, because prayer is not preparation. Prayer is not preparation. When you pray, well, I am going to come to prayer. But one of the things you need to understand about prayer is that prayer is not you talking to God, but it is, and it is not God talking to you. That's not what prayer is. Yeah, that's not what prayer is, Sister Brian. Anybody can tell me what prayer is?